What's something that annoys you but makes you look like an asshole if you complain? People who stand way too close to you in lines of the store. I was standing in line at the bank, and every time the line moved, the guy behind me would inch closer and closer to me, to the point that I could feel his breath on the back of my neck. I was getting really creeped out, so the next time the line moved, I moved forward but put my hand on my hip and slightly rocked back on my heels, effectively elbowing him in the stomach hard. He moved back after that. When someone responds to your email but doesn't answer any of the questions you asked? How about when someone replies to your message but seems to only reply to the most irrelevant sentence in the whole paragraph? Drives me nuts. Or hijacks it for a moderately related subject, so now no one in the email is paying attention to the actual problem that spawned the email anymore. People talking when I'm tired. People. What a bunch of bastards. Babies, kids crying. I can't possibly go and say shut the fuck up, even though I really want to say it. When people tell the same sad, personal backstory to everyone they meet, I suspect for sympathy? I want to tell people to stop trying to get sob story points, but then I'm the asshole. People need to know about my second grade's class gerbil Henry and the story of his brief but adventurous life near the window. If we don't tell his story, his memory dies. Every time I have a get-together at my house, if there are new people she doesn't know, my mother-in-law will hijack the conversation and get everyone's attention to tell the story of how her dad died when she was a child, then she'll tell the story of how her first husband was murdered in a drunk fight. After everyone dries their tears and tells her what a strong person she is, my father-in-law will then start on the same speech about how he is a self-made man who taught himself how to be a musician, electrician and restaurateur. Blah blah blah. All the while I'm just waiting for this rehearsed play to end so everyone can go back to their appetizers. Minor thing wrong with food delivery, like sauce you asked for is missing, so now you can't dip your wings in anything, and even though you paid like 50 cents for it, if you ask them to redeliver it, you know they're going to hate you. Yeah, it sucks cause it's not worth your time to complain. Your meal has already been marginalized. Sometimes I like to call just to let them know they fucked up, but don't want them to compensate me in any way. Those trips people take to third world countries to build homes and schools and wells etc. and then post it on social media smiling with a bunch of kids. I can't put my finger on it, but it peeves me to no end. They're usually doing good things for people. I just hate it. Is it possible that somewhere, in the back of your head, there may be a lurking suspicion that they are only doing it to make themselves look good? People walking so slowly, or people who let their dogs walk on the other side of the footpath to them so that the lead stretches all the way across the path and makes it hard for anyone to walk around them. This, that, and slow walkers are always the type to veer awkwardly from side to side so that it is impossible to walk past them. I think since slow walkers never have to deal with the frustration of being held up by a slow walker, they're even less aware of how slow they are. I've never had a problem with a slightly slower or faster walker. We both know that the slower one sticks to the right and the faster one sticks to the left. Slow walkers, however, will walk dead center, usually on their phone, so they're swaying from side to side as well. People who chew with their mouths open. Close your gap. I don't need to hear or to see what you make of it. That's intolerable. The smacking sounds makes me want to punch people. When people are like, there are people who live in poverty, so it means you aren't allowed to have feelings. As the great Doug Stanhope once said, how does their suck make my suck any less? The old could be worse. As if your hardships don't count because there's something worse happening to someone else. It's a shitty way of trying to make someone feel better, cause it really doesn't help at all. When there are open seats in the rear of the bus, but some folks insist on standing right in the aisle and not moving aside, which blocks newer passengers from accessing the seats they may want to sit in. I may choose to stand next to my seated family friends instead of the lonely island or crazy Craig in the back. Moving out of the way for others is obviously the polite thing to do. When people say God bless you after every single sneeze, I can knock off 4 or 5 sneezes before I'm done. As someone who is incapable of sneezing any less than 7 times in a row, I disagree. I think it's funny when people do it, and I only just now realized how that could be really annoying. Friends' guests coming over to visit when I've got shit to do. Coming over without asking first is just rude. I remember what shit went down at Thanksgiving thread on this subreddit a few months back, And one of the top comments was where an aunt brought her child over unannounced, and now there wasn't enough food, and everyone was pissed at the aunt for being an inconsiderate ass, and the aunt was mad at everyone for not giving her food and for being mad at her. YouTube ads. I know there are a lot of people whose entire incomes come from those ads, but they're still intrusive and commonly show up at inconvenient points in videos. The worst invention of all times must be the ad one of two like bitch. Why 2 ads in a row? We're TV now. Poor grammar. If you tell someone they're using a word incorrectly, you look like an asshole. I correct my boyfriend when he uses incorrect grammar or a word that doesn't mean the right thing, but never in front of other people. He doesn't mind. He's thanked me before and told me he's impressed with how smart I am. In his turn he explains computers and car care and other things I don't understand. I'm impressed with him, thank him, and come to him with problems to solve. It's a great trade for both of us to show off, help each other, and feel like we know what we're doing. I hate repeating myself. At least when I'm actually speaking. Typing is low effort so I don't mind. But when I'm asked to repeat myself enough times, I just get irritated but say nothing, never mind. To avoid looking like an asshole. As someone with bad ears, this makes me uncomfortable to find out. About every 10 sentences I hear, I have to ask, what did you say? Any kind of team building at work. Same with site meetings. I have no interest in building relationships with my coworkers. I have no interest in how my company is doing financially and what the company's goals are for the next year. Just send a GD email about that crap. I just want to do my job and go home. Ugh, this is the absolute worst. Yeah, tell the employees all about how the company is pulling in record profits, enough that they could double every single employee's salary, and it'd decrease their profitability by less than 25%. That's real great for morale, especially when we're constantly being told to tighten our belts. Tell us that a multi-billion-dollar international corporation can't afford to hire a couple more employees to handle the ever-increasing workload, stop paying for an annual Christmas party, push back the retirement age, fight tooth and nail with the union to avoid giving a wage increase, keeping pace with inflation, make us keep driving 25-plus-year-old work trucks that are falling apart and burning a quart of oil a day. Fucking fantastic. When I am in no hurry and someone holds the door while I am still quite far away, I get anxious, then I have to run. Sometimes I feel like running. Away from the door. Little kids getting in my way. Doesn't matter if it is the grocery store, the park, etc. Their parents do not keep track of them, and then I'm the dick for not grinning at the little demon spawns when they step directly in my path. It's not the kids getting in my way that annoys me, it's the parents. When I worked in retail, it wasn't uncommon for children to tear their way around the shop, fall, hurt themselves, and then I'd get an earful for the shop being a shop and not a kids' activity center. On one particularly saddening occasion, I saw a kid running and seemed to bounce off another customer before carrying on running. I was working fairly rapidly through my section, so I managed to turn the corner just in time to see the kid handing a wallet to his parent. Security had already clocked them picking someone else's pocket and met them at the door with the police, but my world definitely got more cynical that day. People looking, staring at me while I eat. People looking or staring at me, in general. Did you know you can eat what's on your fork without eating the fucking fork? Seems like you have a story to tell. I really do hate the sound of metal on teeth. But I can't really ask people to stop. People genuinely crying, expressing real sorrow. I was punished every time I cried as a kid, and it resulted in some weird psychological phenomena. I didn't learn to comfort people until I was like 23, and I'm still not great at it. Intellectually I know what I should do, emotionally I'm incredibly agitated. I get so uncomfortable when people cry in public or at work and expect one of us to hug them or something. I've cried in public many times, I'd rather just be ignored and not touched. Forcing someone to drink with you. Not taking no for an answer. Come on, just one. As a frequent drinker I won't do that to someone. In fact, I have talked a sober friend into not getting a drink while being drunk myself because they were doing so well and I didn't want them to fuck it up. Having a conversation with someone and when it's my turn to speak they use it as an opportunity to check their phone and messages. And once it's their turn to talk I'm expected to give them my full attention. People reading out loud or singing something when I'm thinking or doing something else. It is a big deal. People bringing their kids to work. Not so much BC of the kids, I notice they don't care about me one way or another, but the parents. 9/10 they look at you like, look, I brought my precious child. Don't you think he or she is cute? Dote on them. Especially BC, I'm a woman, and I guess I'm expected to get weepy over a tiny person I don't know. No, thank you, Brian PLS, keep the child in your office, I do not wish to play with it. Parents saying, you won't understand X until you have a child when X has nothing to do with childcare. Have a long work day? Try that and having a kid. Need a mental health break? Having a kid is a full-time job. Don't get me wrong. I like kids and I see it's a really tough job, but sometimes it just seems like they're using it as a reason for why their chosen suffering is worse than yours. I work as an ER nurse. The thing that annoys me most is when I'm taking care of someone having an actual life-threatening emergency and someone there for their cold symptoms or chronic back pain starts moaning in pain or gets really demanding. I've literally been screamed at by someone who rolled their ankle 30 minutes ago about how I wasn't taking good enough care of them getting them pain medicine when I was in the process of trying to move another patient into a room to set up for an emergency chest tube because they couldn't breathe. Wish I was exaggerating even a little bit. Look, I get you're in pain. But the ER shouldn't be the place to go for certain things. I have to prioritize who needs me the most, the person most unstable. And it surprises me so much that people always assume they're the only ones in pain in a full ER. People that leave too big a space between each other while waiting in line, threatening the stability and cohesiveness of the queue, and possibly forcing me to wait longer than expected while your fat ass stares at the menu of the fast food place that hasn't changed its menu in 60 years, you sick f***. I have issues.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Reddit stories. Mothership will be glad with you.